Michigan's first college football playoff win could not have been against a more historic program. It could not have been a better game. Could not have been any more of a classic in a classic setting. It was the perfect script, and Michigan made one more play, and the defense made it stand up. And what a game, what a performance, offense, defense, all the way around for Michigan. No, it was not a perfect game, but considering the setting, the opponent, the pressure, everything involved, Michigan came through. Welcome to the Voice of College Football, everyone. This is Michigan Postgame Live right here at the Voice of College Football, and you recognize this guy. He makes it all work for us on the Michigan channel and Michigan Postgame Live, and he is probably just about to explode, so I should shut up at this point. It's John D'Adamo.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mark. What a game. This, first of all, let's talk high level for a second. High level, there have been a few narratives about the Big Ten versus the SEC. There have been narratives about Michigan being unable to win a big game, being unable to win a playoff game, and they were warned. And here, you have Blake Corum deciding to stay for a year where in 2017, 2016, he probably goes to the NFL this year because they don't have the NIL setup. They didn't have the one more year fund back then. Blake Corum was a huge difference maker in this game. I think we can all agree on that. And the play calling was good at points. In fact, I think it was even great at points. I really enjoyed the motion, the pre-snap motion, the use of the Corum in the receiving game. He had 83 rushing yards. He had 2 receptions in the receiving game as well with the touchdown. So he was a huge difference maker. We expected that the wide receivers, there wasn't going to be a wide receiver that was going to put up 100+ passing yards. But Roman Wilson had a really clutch play when they needed it most. And Harbaugh going for it on 4th down, pretty far back. Herb Street, I think it was Herb Street that said, or Fowler, I forget which one, he said, Harbaugh pushed all his chips in. There are coaches that would have punted. And Harbaugh went for it. He trusted his players. And this, Mark, you're the historian among us. Is this the biggest win for Michigan since Wazoo 97?
Oh, there's no question about that. This is the biggest win, certainly on the national stage. Now, the rivalry being what it is, that's almost in a different category. It's tough to rate the game versus everything else that happens. And of course, that hurdle had to be overcome for Michigan to get to this stage, to control the Big Ten, to own the Big Ten, and then to move to this point. But and it wasn't just a playoff win when you look at it historically. This was not TCU last year. This was not another really good team that could have been in this place. This was Alabama, a team that comes through, a team that has the clutch gene, a team that has the greatest of all time on the sideline. And I made the comment a number of times in the last month that it has truly been just great all-time type teams that have beaten Nick Saban, and you have to be that good. Look at the Georgia of 2021, the 2 Clemson teams with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, the Ohio State team in 2014. You have to be like a special team, and I didn't know if Michigan was quite up to that challenge, but here they are. They were, and they are that team.
It's really remarkable. You think back to the last time these two teams matched up in 2019. And I made a comment early in this game after, of course, the almost interception that I was like, oh, another game like this. We're gonna have interceptions right off the bat. But then when the team started settling in, on the trenches, just the fact that Michigan, especially Michigan's interior D line against Bama's O line in the first quarter, second quarter. they were pushing them around, which is like that never. I mean, how often does that happen against an SEC team like Alabama or Georgia versus a Big Ten team? Just doesn't. That's why I'm saying it's a different era. I mean, 2019, there wasn't a moment that I thought Michigan was going to win that game. Not a moment. I felt from snap one to the end, like every play in that game in 2019, that Alabama was going to win that game. Even when Michigan was ahead, they had Quinn Nordine with that field goal. But in this game, it just felt like Michigan had the slight edge. Alabama responded. The second half, they had a lot of good plays. Obviously, they kept Michigan off the board in the third quarter. So there's that. But it just felt like this was a true heavyweight matchup. And if you think, like whatever you want to say about Florida State, whether you think they should have gotten in, whatever, I think we can all agree this feels pretty awesome. and I think just the caliber of team that Michigan just defeated.
Yeah, regardless of who was going to win this game, like you, after a couple drives, I felt like these teams are evenly matched. Both of them belong. Few questioned whether from a historic standpoint or from a recency standpoint, whether Alabama belonged. Now, certainly people believed that they should not have been selected, but that's a different argument than whether they're good enough to be on the field and play and participate and compete. And yes, Michigan was the significantly better team in the first half. Now, they only had a 3-point lead, but they botched a few things. Of course, the punt muff was significant. The missed snap was significant, and Bama did just enough. They had that final drive, and the Michigan pass rush was devastating, overwhelming in the first half.
Yeah, that shocked me. I mean, I knew they were good, and we obviously saw them against Ohio State make some plays. We saw against Penn State make some plays. But to do it against Alabama and that defense, and I understand they're not the number one statistical. They're about the 16th statistical. That's still pretty good. So, yeah, we do have 5 super chats. We want to take some of these here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, by the way, for the contributions. We really appreciate that. So Casey Anthony, $2. Thank you for that. Alabama remains tied with Yale with 18 natties. Okay. Yes, Yale, the traditional powerhouse.
Casey really taking us big picture right out of the gate.
Yeah, really. Hey, Wolverine Alaska with the 999. Thank you. It is neg 20 in the North Pole, Alaska, but it is heating up. Okay. All right. Vandy Dandy, the Michigan investigation just ended. I don't think we're going to be that lucky, but certainly this was a statement. And again, narratives getting shattered. Both teams didn't use their iPads because they were worried. There were measures taken on both teams in preparation for this game. And, so you could say what you want about what Michigan did or didn't do or anything else. But what I think I don't think it can be denied that, like, I highly doubt Michigan, had that sign advantage in this game. Because, Saban is too good of a coach. He's the greatest coach of all time. We've said that before. And I think that both teams took measures to prevent the other team from discovering signals. I think that's a fair assumption. Saban deserved it after running up the score in 2019. Saban didn't really run up the score in 2019. Saban, are you talking about the Michigan game?
They did score a late touchdown that they didn't need to score in that game.
Yeah, it wasn't like a complete curb stomp of a game, though.
No.
I don't think I think he wanted to win the game, and win the game decisively and send a message that Bama's still around. And look at what they did the next year. And they built up to that and then won the national championship. So, I can't hate on it. Harbaugh's done similar things for strategic advantage. Oh boy. The Bull will win. 999. Here's one coming after Deral. All those 5 stars. Hun Deral, higher blue chip rating. Hun Deral. Why even play Hun Deral? Let's go blue. I said it's great. And then I'm assuming that was going to be a Michigan Wolverine. He maybe ran out of space there. And look, I mean, I think that Michigan found a way to counteract the star disadvantage with 5th and 6th year players. One more year fund, Blake Corum coming back. We've talked about this before. Roman Wilson, Colston Loveland, they all could have gone to the NFL. Not Colston Loveland, Cornelius Johnson. They could have all gone to the NFL, right? So I think that they found a way to at least create an even matchup, despite Alabama having the obvious star advantage, and they did that by having talent that was extremely experienced. And JJ made enough plays at quarterback, which is another factor that you have to have. JJ had, I was looking, he wasn't like lights out, but he had 221 yards, 3 touchdowns, 17 for 27. Nothing to sneeze at. And you have to have, I think, a solid quarterback play. You have to have solid quarterback play if you're going to win a playoff game. And he made a couple of mistakes, but overall, pretty solid. I'm going to let you field that one, Mark.
Is Mark going to remain biased? Well, I have stated from day one that everyone's biased. So yes, I'm human, so I'm going to remain biased. You're biased. I'm biased. Everyone's biased. I try to eliminate it as much as possible, but I'm going to stay consistent and do my best to not be biased. But am I going to remain biased? Yes, because I'm a human.
Sure.
So yes, I'm going to be biased, but I try to take that out as much as possible. To extend on the point that you're making, John, that's where I was in evaluating this game. My statements were basically, I'm picking Alabama because of the talent advantage, Jalen Milroe, and Saban, not so much discrediting Harbaugh's postseason record, because he's prepared teams for NFL playoff games and Super Bowls and championship games in the NFL. So I think that the postseason record wasn't certainly a good thing on his resume in college, but I didn't think that was I think there were a lot of circumstances involved in each one of those seasons. But the one thing that I stated over and over and over and over that, John, you just hit upon was it has taken a top 3 or 4 team in the country from a talent perspective to win national championships. And when that's been stretched a bit, it has taken a great quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson. They're the only 2 examples. Cam Newton, if you want to go all the way back to 2010. However, nobody has, as of yet, 247 Sports is making the best effort to evaluate the impact of the transfer portal. And I've stated that every day for the last month, that I don't know what the impact on that talent is, because Michigan has done as good a job as anyone in the nation, Florida State probably right there, of supplementing their roster with experienced, talented players that fit what they do and have become key contributors. And so that has obviously closed the gap.
There were a few plays where they kept passing and they kept trying to do like gadget stuff with Alex Orji. Just wasn't working. I think Saban even made a comment in the interview that he did before the game, where one of the journalists had asked him about Michigan's trick plays, and he made a comment like they're preparing for it. They obviously were preparing for Alex Orji, because anytime Alex Orji was in the game, he got lit up. I think in that game, the one coach you're going to struggle running trick plays against is Saban. I think there was one flea flicker that worked, but the other ones didn't. And so I was like, the run is working. Blake Corum is doing pretty well at carries. Why not continue to do that? Like, why pass 3 times when you have Blake Corum? So they did adjust and they did use Blake Corum more as the game went on, which I was very happy to see.
What fascinates me when a game is this close is that we could probably point to 20 or 25 plays in this game where something happened that was this close. You mentioned the Roman Wilson catch, which really, when you slow it down, was a remarkable catch. He extended as far as he could and caught the bottom of the football. But Deontay Lawson tipped that throw, and JJ had enough on it that it not only made it to him, it made it to him still with a tight spiral. But if Deontay Lawson, if his finger is that much higher than it was, then that ball gets deflected out of bounds or hits the ground or gets picked off or something. If the Michigan punt returner who muffed the punt inside the 5-yard line near the end of the game, if that bounds like away from him to a degree that he can't recover it, then, there are a number of things, and they didn't all bounce Michigan's way. There were a lot of things that bounced Alabama's way as well. They could have widened the gap for Michigan when they had a lead.
False starts.
Yes.
Illegal substitutions.
Yeah, what was impressive, well, and Alabama came out at halftime and they were down by 3 and they had a nice flow going. They gained a couple first downs. They had the running game going both from Milroe and from their freshman Justice Haynes and Chase McClellan. Then they had the 2 consecutive bad snaps that put them in the hole, that lost them 19 yards, and they couldn't recover from that and had to punt. What impressed me, and I'm jumping all over the place, but on the 4th and 2. So you came out of the gate mentioning Harbaugh's decision to go for it on 4th and 2 deep in his own end. I thought even before they made it, that is the right call. That is the right decision. There's only 3.5 minutes, although they were kind of in no man's land. If there was a lot more time, then you would say punt, play field position, get the stop on defense. If there was less time, you would say, well, there's not enough time. They were kind of in that no man's land where you could make either decision and justify it. What was impressive was that they weren't moving the ball. They had a pretty horrendous half of offensive football to that point. And then they pull that play out to get Corum free. And then it started to click from there. That final drive plus the overtime runs, it just seemed like that 4th down conversion just put them, it obviously extended, and without it, the game's over and they lose, but it also jettisoned them in terms of momentum and flow and rhythm.
Yeah, for sure. We are getting the generosity of everybody today is awesome. We just got 5 more super chats. So Josephine Bluebeard, this is referring to if Michigan wins the national championship, I would dye my beard blue for an episode of Michigan Wolverines Live. So 1 game away. You'll get your wish, Josephine.
That's great.
Wolverine Alaska, $4.99. Thank you. Corum has Michigan's record to score winning touchdowns. I know he's got quite a few records at this point. I don't exactly know what he's.
So the touchdown that won the game, that broke a record, correct?
Possibly.
Or did that just extend his record? They made a comment about that setting a record. I thought he already had the Michigan touchdown record.
Yeah, I thought so too. But there have been a lot of those that Blake Corum has hit throughout. So Blake Corum passes Anthony Thomas for most career touchdowns.
Got it.
56 career touchdowns at Michigan, the most in program history.
I think
So
he set the rushing touchdown record before, and now this is the
that's probably
total
what it
touchdown
is.
record.
Yeah.
What a
Wow.
way to do it. Wow.
Absolutely. Casey Anthony again. Do both Harbaugh brothers win it all this year? Maybe. Ravens are looking exceptional. Beating a team like the 49ers? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this Michigan team, and Harbaugh talks about it all the time. Every time he is questioned about this team and gives an interview, and it all sounds to somebody who doesn't either believe it or buy into it, or who's a rival fan or a hater, it sounds like a bunch of hyperbole, but it's proven not to be. It's right there. It is exceptional. It is this is what it takes to win championships. It takes talent, it takes coaching, it takes development, it takes all those things. But there's a lot of adversity that comes with that. Fighting through an entire season, just a normal season, but they obviously fought through all the adversity of the critics and the controversy swirling around the program. And so everything Harbaugh states about these players and how close they are is obviously the truth.
Blake Corum came back for that moment. Blake Corum, he was told by Jim Harbaugh, go to the NFL. And he came back for that moment to get the ball in that situation and help Michigan win a game. Not just any game, but like we said, probably the biggest game since '97. That's why he came back, and now it was vindicated. Meanwhile, Washington's up 7-0 on Texas. But yeah, I think him coming back and everybody coming back, this felt like the last dance. And we talked about this before. We talked about this on Michigan Wolverines Live, that this team had a lot of super seniors. This team had a lot of players, especially on offense, that are going to be in the NFL next year. The offense is going to look very different next year. Maybe JJ comes back, maybe he doesn't. But you're going to see a lot of different players that you haven't seen as much. You're going to see a lot more Ben Hall. You're going to see a lot more players like maybe a Peyton O'Leary doing more. Maybe you'll see Carmelo. I'd like to see more Carmelo English. That'd be great because he looked pretty good in the limited times we've seen him. So it's going to look very different. So this is they're really trying to go all the way, and this is the closest Michigan's ever gotten in the CFP era to winning a natty. And we'll see whoever wins this game that's on now. Those two teams are going to be battling it out next week. Nar with $5. What a game and performance from you. The super chats just keep coming, Mark. I want to hear from Deral. Well, I won't say that. That's mean. I mean, look, Deral. Look, here's the thing. Deral is a big SEC fan. But the thing about Deral is he's always respectful, and I appreciate that about him. And I appreciate that he knows his football, and he comes with stats, and he comes with intelligence, and that's what we want here at Voice of College Football. I may not agree with him 80% of the time, but I respect where he's coming from.
Yeah, he's been out there and saying that this was going to be a blowout. He's been out there and saying that the SEC is the best conference by far, and so forth and so on. In my conversations with him, I typically pull him back to the center and I counterpoint him, but he doesn't make completely ridiculous claims. He at least has the backing of statistics and history and recent history to back up his claims.
Yeah. And he does want to call in, so we'll put up the phone line once we get. We're getting we want to honor the super chats and the wonderful people who are donating. Bama fans drowning their tears in Four Locos. Okay, Is that a thing at Bama? I didn't know that. Terrence Lucas, love your channel, Mark, and your takes.
Thank you, Terrence. We appreciate it.
Jimmy Page, thanks, Saban, for taking Reese away from us. So we've got a Notre Dame fan coming in. Here's a 2020 burger from Adam Smith. Thank you, Adam. If Michigan wins the Natty, will Mark dye his Orlando Pace jersey blue?
No. How do you want me to answer that? What would be my incentive to do that? What is the payoff?
Yeah. I mean, I'm dyeing my beard blue, but I'm probably gonna, it's not gonna be blue for very long, as I've got a whole professional, full, whole separate life and everything. So I can't have that for very long.
Adam has been paying a lot of attention because I pulled out that Orlando Pace jersey to make the point about the transfer portal and players playing for multiple teams. And I had seen a number of people lamenting Christmas gifts from recent years because they had jerseys of players who moved on to other teams. And I had my Orlando Pace jersey and I cut a quick short. And so Adam has been paying close attention. So Adam, I do appreciate that you're paying attention to the very few shorts that I post. There will be more, but that you caught that.
Absolutely. And just a reminder to everybody, we've got 600 plus people on the line. So just hit the like button, subscribe to the Voice of College Football if you haven't already. We really appreciate that. Moose with a $10 super chat. LFG, we did it, John. Michigan versus everybody. Moose is a regular contributor on Big Ten Live, the Ocho, and gives a lot of recruiting. He is deeper into the high school recruiting stuff than a lot of people I know, and he follows it very closely. And so we appreciate him coming by with and supporting.
Well, John, since you're going to take some calls,
yeah,
I can get out of the way.
Okay.
I'm going to jump on at halftime of this Texas-Washington game like I did for the Bama-Michigan game. And if anyone has Michigan comments, questions, Bama comments, questions, of course, I'm going to be on after the game, the Texas-Washington game as well, which will not be exclusively Texas-Washington. So we will continue to talk. So if you have anything for me in particular, you can certainly call after the second game.
There you go.
I'll let you guys revel. Thanks, John.
Appreciate you, Mark.
Congratulations.
Thanks. All right. Tom Bouchard, $5. I'm going to get through these next couple of super chats, and then we have a caller already, and we're taking one at a time today. I'm not doing panel. It's too crazy. There will be 15 million people on the panel. We're doing one at a time. All right. Michigan out, smash mouth, Bama. Go blue. Matthew Rowley, let's go blue. Thank you for all the generous contributions. And Jason McBride, $5. Thank you so much. So I have to hear from Deral first. I just have to. Jackson, you'll be next. I promise. Deral MVP. How you doing, buddy? Deral?
Sorry, John. I had some issues getting when you clicked me on. That's my apologies, sir.
You're good.
Well, congrats. Good. How about you? Congrats on the win, man.
I'm doing phenomenal. What's our percentage now? Do we get a bump up now that we beat Alabama?
I've told everybody this. I don't know until the other games play.
Yeah.
I don't know your opponent. That determines what the percentage is.
Okay.
But listen, I've been roasted, and rightfully so. But this idea, okay, that Michigan just completely dominated Alabama, and that Michigan proved that they're just the better team or whatever. I mean, sorry, John. I'm just so used to saying Mark on here.
You're good.
The idea, if they played another game right now, I don't know who would win. I mean, that was a 50-50 game. And somebody said Michigan's clearly got the best defense in the country. I don't don't know that. Alabama had a pretty good defense out there.
Yeah.
If all Alabama did was on that one play where he tipped the ball before Roman Wilson got that huge gain to get it first and goal, if he tipped that ball and picked it off and Alabama wins, that doesn't really change who had the better defense. So I just think there were some plays by Alabama that cost them this game, and there were some bad plays by Michigan that also hurt them. I mean, the two. What was that?
I said it was a sloppy game. I mean, both teams had things that they did that were really questionable. JJ's first decision he made the whole game. I was like, "What are you doing? There's an open guy."
I looked. Did you see the pregame show or anything? When they were warming up, they did like 40 minutes before they told them warming up.
Oh, and he was meditating.
Right. Well, not only that, but it just the Michigan attitude. They looked like I could tell they were super amped up for this game. They looked more amped up for this game than Ohio State. And I thought to myself, Michigan looks like they could have some early mistakes because they want to try and do too much. And I think that's what happened. Alabama's been in this position before, and this is just another game. For Michigan, this means everything. And that's not any disrespect to Michigan. It's just the reality of where the programs are at.
Here's all I wanted. All I wanted, Deral, was for this to be an evenly matched game. I just didn't want a 2021 repeat of what happened against Georgia. That's all. Or a 2019 repeat of what happened against Alabama when Michigan played Alabama in the Citrus Bowl, right? And I think it's fair to say that they were two very evenly matched teams that both had strengths and weaknesses. And you can point to the strengths and weaknesses, but they both had them. And this isn't the 2020 Alabama team. And this isn't, the 2019 Michigan team. Michigan's probably a little better than they were in 2019, and Alabama's probably a little not as good as they were in those golden years. And it made it for an even matchup. And Michigan won this one.
Right. I thought the key play, I know it's hard to dissolve this game to one play, but for me, that fumble by Jalen Milroe in the fourth quarter, if Alabama scored a touchdown there, I thought the game was basically over. It would have been 24-13. But honestly, with Michigan leaving the wide receiver run, I don't know which position it was, but he left somebody open to left. It looked like he was indecisive, didn't know if he was wanting to pitch it. And there was multiple times where I think if Jalen Milroe was decisive with the football, he would have done much better than what he was doing. It was like he was trying to do everything all the time and was trying to be Superman and put on that cape. And sometimes, you don't need to do everything. It's okay to get 5 yards. Especially on this defense. It's okay to go 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2. You don't have to pick up 20, 30 yards. I don't understand the home run balls that Alabama was trying to get on Michigan. They'd throw it for like 40 yards and it would always get deflected by a Michigan cornerback. I mean, that's ridiculous. Just take the one.
Jalen Milroe has two strengths. He has his running ability and he has his deep ball ability. So Tommy Rees was trying to play call to Jalen Milroe's strengths, which I understand, but you have to adjust, which I do think they did, to be fair, in the second half. They adjusted and they ran it more. McClellan did a great job. I thought he was a great running back. Their other running back was really good too. But McClellan just had that extra. He reminded me in some ways of Corum. And those two running backs duked it out and were a key factor in the game. So, Deral, we got a lot of callers, including next we have a Bama fan. So we want to keep the Bama train rolling here too. But
I got you, John. I want Michigan fans to be happy with this win, John. You should be happy. You won a playoff game, but I want you and everybody else to understand the job. I haven't been proven wrong yet. Okay, when people say Deral, you look like a fool. What's our percentage to win the national championship? John, did they win the national championship tonight?
Not yet.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
These two teams.
Okay, so there's still one more game?
Correct.
And if you lose this game, then all you've done is proven you're a TCU Louisville program. A team that can win a playoff game. I'm just making sure, okay?
A TCU level program.
You know what
Okay.
I mean, John. A team that got into the playoff, they barely won a game, and if they get blown out the next game, that's going to be the perception. You know
Okay.
that. You
Yes.
understand that. That's unfair, but that's the way it's going to be.
Do you think Michigan's going to get blown out by Texas or Washington with that defense that they have?
I don't know anything anymore, John. I'm going to keep it honest. You nothing would surprise me.
That's fair. All right, Deral, we appreciate you and you coming by and taking your medicine.
Yeah, congrats, John, and good luck in the national championship game.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Deral. And next up, we've got Bama fan Jackson Johnson, host of the Jacksonian, in the house. How about that game, huh?
I will say, though, I was pretty sad for my Crimson Tide, but I am happy for you guys. And, John, I want to say congratulations on a fine victory. How do you feel about being in the Natty?
Ooh, I mean, I was hoping we'd get in last year because I think that TCU loss was just a disaster. There's no reason that Michigan should have lost to TCU, but
Right.
What this shows is that people came back for this moment, right? Blake Corum came back for this moment to make that play to win in overtime, right? Yeah. I mean, the defense did
and
have
in
to stop
and in fourth and two. You know, it's like
right.
Yeah.
Like
because there was a reason in the preseason I picked Michigan to win it all. I was like, they didn't all come back for another win against Ohio State. They came back to win it all.
Yeah, and the narratives that were just shattered tonight, right? Whether it's Harbaugh can't win a playoff game, whether it's Michigan can't beat the SEC, whether it's just Harbaugh can't win in the postseason, period. I think this definitely is a great step in the right direction for winning in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic finish right there. I mean, Roman Wilson and J.J. McCarthy, Blake Corum, tremendous contributors to tonight's game. And the defense from Michigan, they did a tremendous job putting some pressure on Jalen Milroe. I mean, we should have done a better job protecting our QB. I mean,
well, you did in the second half, and you started to play call a little differently. Tommy Rees did make however many adjustments Tommy Rees knows how to make. He was able to make them. You could tell there were a lot fewer sacks in the second half. Saban probably lit everybody a new one in the locker room, and they definitely hunkered down a lot in the second half. Michigan just made a couple more plays. I mean, that's really what it came down to. Daryl's right. That game could have gone the other way, and if it's played 10 times, Michigan and Bama probably both win 5 of them.
Well, and I'll be honest, this sounds like a really weird comparison I'm about to make. The 2024 Rose Bowl, I compare it to the 2022 Peach Bowl, where Clemson beat LSU. Here's why. At that time, going into the game, Clemson had the reputation where they couldn't win the big games. Nobody thought they could get it done, but then they showed, hey, we're a whole different Clemson team. We can get the job done. And 2021 Michigan, Ohio State, and 2024 Rose Bowl tonight on January 1st, 2024, Michigan heard it all. They can't get it done in the big games. And guess what? They got it done. And I do have some advice. Don't put the cart in for the horse going into the Natty. Because you got one more game. You can win that first national title since 1997.
Yeah, I was expecting you to say don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but you're changing it up on me.
Like throwing the baby out with the bathwater is, overreacting to one bad thing, but throwing the cart in before the horse is celebrating way too early.
True. Yeah, so, I think Michigan fans should celebrate. This is this is a big achievement. Michigan's never come this far before. Michigan's now at a place that Notre Dame's never been in the CFP, that Oklahoma has never been in terms of the national championship game, right? They've taken that next step, and yes, TCU as well. I know. But like that's a step that very few programs have gotten to. And I think it starts to cement Michigan. If Michigan can beat whoever wins this game, Texas or Washington, I mean I think that'll have ramifications for recruiting. That'll have ramifications for money and for NIL for the program. I mean, I think even this win will have positive ramifications. But at the end of the day, like the goal is to win the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
So
win it all.
So,
but I will say,
Texas, Washington 7-7 right now.
True. How old were you when you saw Michigan won the Natty in 1997 when they won the Rose Bowl against Washington State?
How what?
How old were you when Michigan won the Natty in the Rose Bowl in 19? Holy crap, you were a 6-year-old, and now 25 years later, you're going in. Well, no, wait, 27 years later, 26, 27. You're a grown man, and you're going to see Michigan win it all for the second time in your lifetime. If they don't forget how they just don't act like you got it all won against Texas or Washington. But fun fact though, Texas, Washington are going to be on the schedule next year. So regardless of who wins tonight, that's going to be a fun storyline.
Absolutely.
The national title rematch on like Fox or CBS, NBC next year, that's going to be a tremendous storyline right there. And funny thing is, if Michigan Washington is the national championship, that's going to be a big conference game next year.
Yep. If you were Nick Saban, what's one thing you would change in the offseason? Obviously you came very close to winning this game.
Right.
So it's hard because, you won the it's kind of like what Ohio State's had to do. Like they're like a really, really good team, but they still have to make changes because they're not getting exactly where they want to go. And let's face it, Saban wants to win titles. So what do you think he's going to do in the offseason? Like, what's one thing you think he'll do to
I think he's going to be looking at what he did correctly in 2015, what he did wrong in 2016, than what he did correctly in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And if I know Coach Saban, he's going to do that.
Marcus, Bama needs to get stronger in the trenches. Yeah, I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked that Michigan's interior D-line and pass rush was able to get through the O-line to that degree in the first half. It wasn't close. I mean, Michigan was like dominating. And if it wasn't for a missed extra point, Michigan would have won in regulation.
Yeah. I mean, that almost screwed you guys right there, that missed extra point.
Right.
Yeah. So
all right, Jackson. We got a lot of callers behind, and I'm doing one at a time today. But I'll encourage everybody to go and check your page out on YouTube, the Jacksonian, and all that good stuff.
All right, man. Thank you for having me on, John. And they'll also love one of the episodes that you were on. That was an awesome episode right there.
Well, thank you. Absolutely.
Oh, man, there's all kinds of awesome episodes, and Thursday's going to be a great release right there with Derek Johnson from Locked On Jayhawks.
There you go. Well, stay tuned for that.
Yep. And stay safe, stay warm. It's cold out. And John, congratulations. And Wolverine Nation, congratulations on a fine victory. Celebrate wisely, but don't throw the cart in before the horse.
There you go. Wise words from Jackson Johnson. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you soon, man.
Later. Next up, we've got Michigan man We got Michigan man calling in.
What up, what up, man? I got to spend a second on Deral, man, real quick, man. Because here's my thing, Deral, you didn't own up to nothing right there. You be a man, okay? Don't when you talk about when you base 100% of your analysis on talent, and when you go into games with Michigan and you say they got pretty much no chance against teams like Bama because the talent gap is so big, and you don't include things like how they actually play on the field, this is why people cook you. So own up to it. All right, they're not TCU. First of all, if I remember correctly, I don't think you would ever pick TCU to beat Bama, would you? No, you would have never picked TCU to beat Bama. Why? Because you base 100% of everything you do on talent. And this is my problem with you, dog, is you got to realize that what they do on the field and other analytics matter as well. That's my thing with Deral. Deral didn't own up to one. He didn't own up to nothing. He just came up, showed up, acted like him just showing up was owning up to stuff. No, you got to actually admit, look, man, my whole talent on Michigan and this talent gap, guess what? It's irrelevant. That talent gap has been proven irrelevant. That's what I got to say with that. What's up, man? How was that win, though, man?
Oh, that was beautiful.
Oh, beautiful, right? And look, we should have won in regulation, man, but there's something about winning it that way.
Yeah, that was satisfying. And it was a Mark agreed with me that was Michigan's biggest win since 97 in the Rose Bowl in 97 when Michigan beat Washington State. This is the major win for the program, and it shatters, Michigan man. There's a couple of narratives that we heard all year, right?
Oh, yeah.
We heard all year from the Buckeye fans. They said, "Oh, well, you beat us, but you can't beat, a team in the playoffs." Well, we just beat Alabama, a pretty good Alabama team in the playoffs. Harbaugh can't get it done in the postseason. Well, he just did.
And what's the narratives, right? We don't recruit high enough. Ohio State fans and the Deral people like Deral, they give us a 1% chance. Why? Because they think because there's such a talent gap when it comes to a month. This is his words. When it comes to a month to prepare, that teams with more talent, there's just no chance against them. Guess what? What was proven false today, John? That there's more to football than just how many stars you got in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It's about coaching. And one last thing with the real thing. If you're going to hang 100% of your hat on talent, then you have to say that Jim Harbaugh is one of the most impressive coaches in college football. Because if he's taking a team that you think has no chance with the talent they got and he's beating Bama, to you, he should be arguably the best coach in college football despite that. If he's doing that when you think he got no chance, you should have him up there, despite not having titles, you should have them up there with Nick Saban and Kirby Smart because he's doing things with such a talent gap that you say is impossible.
Yeah, I've been saying all year that this is that the NIL and transfer portal has changed the traditional school of thought, right? Because 5 years ago, Alabama, Georgia, they were hoarding all the 5 stars, doing all kinds of things to get all the 5 stars, right? And now you can transfer easier, and now you can do $1 million NIL deals, and you can stay an extra year. Blake Corum, 1 more year fund. Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, 1 more year fund. Trevor Keegan, Zach
100%.
They all would have gone.
100%. And I'm going to explain why Michigan was clearly actually the better team today. They muffed the punt, right? They muffed the punt that led to 7 points. They missed a field goal. They missed an extra point. They couldn't punt more than 30 yards to save their life. They were always starting in bad field position. Bama was always getting good field position. Michigan, if you just look at the yardage, especially in that first half, Michigan should have been up 2-3 scores in that first half. If they don't make the blunders they make, and if the special teams isn't just having a terrible day, that game is a 2, maybe even 3-score game at halftime. And then on top of that, one thing Michigan Jim Harbaugh teams have to stop doing in bowl games is getting cute. The cute crap, they got to cut that out. Bringing in orgy, doing a flea flicker, Just run your offense. When did they have the most success? When they just ran their offense.
That was a double flea flicker too, I think, because it went back to JJ to Donovan to JJ again. But yeah, it like here's the thing. Like when that stuff was happening, and when they were passing, despite the fact that the run was getting like 5 yards a carry with Blake Corum, I was like, what are you doing? Run the ball. Like, that's Michigan's identity. And to be fair, they did. They went back. So Harbaugh or somebody said, okay, now we got to hunker down, run the ball. We have the best player on the field, Blake Corum. I think he's the best player on the field.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And I honestly believe if Corum's in the game last year, I think we're in the Natty last year.
Yes, I believe so.
I mean, I think this game just proved that to me. I mean,
Yep.
Everybody's talking about SEC size, SEC this. Blake Corum was dragging dudes.
Yeah.
Was dragging Bama.
Yeah.
They were struggling to bring him down. He was getting extra yardage. No matter what they did. And I hope in the national championship game they cut all the cute crap out. Just run your offense. Do that motion stuff. Don't bring Orgy in. Just don't bring him in to do. It's predictable. We don't need to do it. Yeah, that's all I gotta say before I go. Deral, own up, man. Just own up, dog. It's okay, man. It's okay. Take your L. Eat your L's for breakfast. Put them in a cereal bowl. Pour that milk in there. Eat your L's, man. I know it's not O's like Cheerios, but it's L's, so just eat them. All right, man. Peace out.
All right, later, Michigan man. Go blue. And next up, friend of the program, Will MD in the house.
Congratulations, Michigan fans, especially to my good friends John Diadamo, Mike Ford, and Mr. Moose as well.
Wow. I mean, it's hard.
I picked you guys. I was sweating after the month punt. I'm like, oh gosh, it's just going to be just like last year against TCU. But you got it done.
That first play, I was worried.
Yeah,
that first play, when he threw the pick that eventually got overturned because it was out of bounds, I was like, is this what's going to be? This is going to be a long day for Michigan fans if this continues. But credit to them, they shook off the rust, and like they were actually at points dominant, like against Alabama. And that's
this isn't your cousin. This isn't. I mean, as the great David Greenshield would say, this isn't your cousin's Alabama. There's a lot of problems with that program, but like just with the talent gap, it's still very impressive to win. Yeah, Alabama.
Absolutely. I want to give some leaders and best awards to some of the players that I think did a really good job. Obviously, Blake Corum. I mean, phenomenal, just phenomenal. And the
I think him and I think him and Audric Esme, they're so similar, and they're both like so good at they just drag, as Michigan man said, they just drag guys around. That's like so demoralizing to the defense as well. Just like they're taking their manhood away by just dragging them for extra yards.
Yeah. No, Blake Corum was, I think, the key difference in the game. And as Michigan man said, maybe Michigan beats TCU if Blake Corum.
I think you did. I mean, well, I don't know. You guys kept shooting yourselves in the foot, but I think you probably
True.
Did.
And we did in this game too, but so did Alabama, and that's why that's why we're still on deck here. Also notable that we actually had more passing yards than rushing. We had 221 in the air and 130 on the ground. When you think Michigan, you don't think passing game.
JJ was big. And credit to Jalen Milroe. Like, I thought Milroe was going to turn the ball over. I believe he didn't turn it over once.
Yeah, neither of them did since that one interception didn't count.
But I think JJ's just the better passer, and at the end of the day, that favors Michigan.
Yeah, and he made mistakes, and credit to Alabama's defense for creating some of that. Right, Caleb Downs, Kool-Aid. They had some really lights out plays, but JJ did enough. I was waiting for Roman Wilson to get in the game, and then he had that huge pass that was a difference maker in the game. And I would have liked to see him a little more, and I hope we see him a little more because I think we're going to need him against whoever wins today, Texas or Washington.
I'm hoping Washington. I'm hoping I go 2-0. I'm hoping I go 2-0.
That would be really interesting.
That would be like
Washington...
back to like the Bo, Don James, and then Gary Mueller, Don James, which is funny because Don James was a coordinator for Michigan before with Bump, before Bo.
Porter, I'm getting through calls pretty quick, actually. Just FYI. You know, there's literally I've been ripping through the queue pretty quick. So you're welcome to call back in.
But yeah, I think this gives like other Big Ten teams hope that they can do it without having to recruit to that high level if the development's there. For sure. Like maybe Wisconsin, maybe Iowa can eventually get it done if they get the right coaching staff together. So I think this is great for the smaller team. That doesn't you don't have to just pay like for your recruiting classes to win championships.
Well, another thing that people were worried, and I even had a little worry when I saw Ohio State lose to Mizzou like that, and when I saw Penn State lose to Ole Miss like that.
The Ohio State didn't want to be there. I think that was part of it too.
No, they didn't want to be there. MHJ was sitting out. I think Eichenberg was sitting out too. There were a couple of people who sat out. Most people played, but you can tell it's just a different team when Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't on the field. And they need to find that impact player because Ohio State's offense is predicated on that, right? Whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr. this past year, whether it's
they need Carnell Tate to be that guy next year for sure.
They need somebody to step up because Igbuka doesn't look like he's the guy. Like Igbuka, was supposed to probably play a larger role. And so I think the difference is, of course, that Ohio State wasn't fielding everybody. Penn State wasn't fielding everybody.
Also, James Franklin.
Yeah, he tends to, the bed in the big games. We have a $20 super chat from our buddy Nick. Go Blue, Nick! Thank you so much for your contributions and your funny your funny things that you do throughout the year. And this was unbelievable. What happened to Alabama with all those 5 stars? I thought Mark picked Michigan to lose by double digits. Did he? I know he picked Michigan to lose, but I didn't know it was by double digits.
I don't think he picked them to lose by double digits.
All we heard was that Michigan doesn't have the talent, the 5 stars, the coaches to win. Go Blue. Well, thank you, Nick, for the contribution. And yes, the 5-star thing is real in terms of Alabama has them. Michigan really doesn't. But they were able to use a combination of the transfer portal, NIL, and other things to keep players longer so that they could keep it competitive against Bama. I still think Bama wins 5 out of 10 times, and I think Michigan wins 5 out of 10 times. But at least it's not like so lopsided as it used to be. Washington just scored, looks like. Yep, rushing touchdown. I'm going to be honest with you. They look pretty scary. I watched the Washington-Oregon game, and I was like, oh, crap, I don't want to face either of these teams. They both are pretty scary. But after tonight's performance, I feel a little better because I don't think Washington has the defense that Alabama does. And
their defense it's better than people give it credit for because of injuries before the season. But yes, it's not Alabama's defense.
Yeah. But thank you, Nick, for the super chat. We really appreciate that. All right. So, Will and D, any other thoughts for us today?
I'm just very hopeful of my team. We have pretty much everyone coming back besides Audric Estime and Cam Hart, but we have a high 4-star replacement for him that looked good in the bowl game, Christian Gray. We had Xavier Watts on 1 more year fund after becoming an All-American safety.
There you go.
So I'm very hopeful that the Irish can win at least 1 playoff game in the 12-team next year.
How the hell did you guys pull off getting LSU's offensive coordinator?
He loves Notre Dame.
Oh.
He was at Notre Dame before. He loves Notre Dame. So that was the biggest reason why we got him, I feel like.
That's fair.
We also might have paid him more too. I'm not totally sure.
I mean, that maybe you opened up the Brinks truck.
Yeah.
With the people that you have coming back, I mean, and especially
also, LSU is going to be missing Jane Daniels from Malik Neighbors. I think Notre Dame's offense next year should be better than LSU's offense.
I agree. And I don't know who Brian Kelly's going to. I don't know if they've announced it yet, who Brian Kelly's getting next, but people don't like Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
And that's why when he moved to LSU, nobody came with him except like one guy.
And he got fired the next year because the special teams wasn't great.
Yeah. So with the 12-team playoff, Notre Dame could get in there with more than 0 losses. Because in the past, you needed to win every game to get into the playoffs. But I think you could get in with one loss.
I'm hoping we don't lose any games next year. I think we can run it. But knowing me, that's what I said this year too. I know I'm wrong.
Badass Buckeye, do I get kudos for taking Michigan over Bama? I want my credit. You are one of the few Buckeyes. Because most of the ones that I've been talking to have been saying "Roll Tide." I'm
sure they're rooting. I'm sure they rooted for the Tide. Maybe more than one pick.
Yeah. But kudos, badass Buckeye, kudos. All right, Will, got a couple more callers here. But
my computer's being wonky again, so kick me out.
Okay.
You just kick me out if you want.
Well, everybody go check out Will ND's channel.
It'll be funny talking to Jeffrey after he was. I mean, he wasn't that confident that Bama would win, but his dad was in the chat saying, "What, Will? I can't believe you're big in Michigan." So it was funny. Yeah.
There you go. So just go ahead and give Will a sub there.
All right. Thanks for having me on, John, and congratulations to your Wolverines.
Thanks so much, Will. All right. Have a good night.
You too, buddy.
Okay. Washington is up 14-7 on Texas. And coming up next, our next caller is Moose. Hey, buddy.
John.
Go Blue.
What is up? What is up, my man?
Who's got it better than us?
Nobody. I got to tell you, I almost had a heart attack right at the end there, but Michigan found they stuffed them on 4th down. I was screaming my lights out. I was waking my neighbors up. I was like, let's effing go. I was screaming, dude. I was like, yes. Oh man, John, you know what? I'm so proud of this football team, man, for everything they've had to go through this year, through the cheating allegations, to the suspensions. Michigan can't beat the SEC. Michigan can't beat Bama. Michigan can't do this. Michigan can't do that. I'm just gonna say, you know what? Everyone can suck it now. You can all suck it. Michigan just beat Bama.
Yep.
And we're probably playing Texas, or I don't know. It looks like Washington right now, but
it could go either way. They both look about even, but Washington's offense is really good. So I mean, they might get the edge, but that's going to be a damn good national championship matchup either way.
Yeah, I'm just so relieved, John, because I'm just so tired of hearing that Michigan can't win a playoff game. They can't do this. Jim Harbaugh is a choke artist. Michigan never shows up for big games. Oh, that narrative has all been put to bed tonight.
Yeah,
because Michigan just beat Bama. Let that sink in. I know they're not the best Bama we've ever seen, but they're the same Bama team that beat Georgia that just put 63 up on FSU. So that's a pretty big deal.
Who do you think? And I'll take this opportunity to remind everybody that tomorrow night we have Michigan Wolverines live at 8 p.m. Eastern with myself, and Tanner Wooten is stopping by from Blue by 90. So we'll be talking a lot about this too. But who are your leaders and best? We've talked about Blake Corum as a big one, obviously, for what he did in the game.
Yeah.
Who are your leaders and best in the game?
JJ has to be my top one. I know he didn't have eye-popping numbers, but when they needed him the most, he stepped up, man, and made some big plays. I know he made some bad plays too, But when you go 17-27 for 200 plus yards and 3 touchdowns against Bama,
Yeah,
that's a good performance. I don't care what anyone says.
it is.
He's probably my top. He's probably my top guy. Like you said, Corb's definitely up there. He come through when he needed to. He made some big plays. Yeah, I gotta give it up to the defense today. What they have 6 sacks today? 6 sacks,
6
man.
sacks.
They were just
Yeah,
they were just flying the ball in the first half, dude. I was like, man, if Michigan's defense plays like this the whole game, Bama don't have any shot in this game.
yeah.
They did let up a little bit in the second half because I think they were getting a little tired for being on the field a lot.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think both sides were getting a little tired towards the end, but Michigan. So here's something I want to mention that now in the past, Alabama would have been the team that found that extra gear at the end to win that game, right? In the past, it would be a Georgia or an Ohio State or this was Michigan's time to find an extra gear in overtime.
Yeah.
And they looked just calm as a cucumber. Like they knew, because there were people saying he should have gone for 2. And I said, don't go for 2.
Yeah.
Go to overtime. And Harbaugh did the right thing. He went to overtime as he knew that he could get it done. And they did.
Well, John, when it was 4th down late in the game with like just over a minute left, I was thinking Michigan's going to get the ball back and they're going to get the game-winning field goal. I didn't even think it was going to go to overtime, and then we have the muff punt. That's the thing that drove me crazy tonight was the special teams play was horrible. We had 2 fumbles tonight.
Special teams wasn't good.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, because our defense bailed us out several times, man. Bama had a chance to score on a few of those.
I will say, kudos to Jake Thaw for not creating a worse situation. Like, he was able to secure the ball and prevent it from, the other team getting it and scoring a touchdown, or there was a couple of doomsday scenarios that could have happened. So he was able to secure the ball, and then JJ and team were able to do their thing and at least get out of that situation. So
yeah, did you see where JJ was kneeling on the ball? He's trying to make sure he wasn't in the end zone because they were so close.
Blake Corum was.
I was like, please don't get pushed back.
Blake Corum was pushing him.
I was like, please don't get pushed back.
Yeah. That was something. So JJ is an impact player for you. Blake Corum. How about Samaj Morgan? I mean, he did have that one mistake, but I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah, he made a few good plays. Also, I'm going to say Roman Wilson, that catch off the deflection. Oh my God, that was crazy catch.
I want to see him more next week. He's
I do
got to
too.
be used more. He's a great player and probably our best wide receiver.
You know what, John? He's really good in those cross plays. They need to get him more involved in those cross plays, because when he does those cross plays towards the sideline, most of the time he's wide open, man. We should be doing that a lot.
Absolutely. Texas just scored. So yeah.
14-14.
This is
looks like nobody's playing defense in this game.
Yeah, what's defense? What even is that? Yeah, I actually think this is a good sign for Michigan.
I do too.
They're just kind of scoring at will. Because Michigan's defense, I think, is better than either of these two.
Well, I said this, John, about a week ago. I said, no disrespect to Washington or Texas, but I think the winner of the Rose Bowl is going to win the national championship, because I think Bama and Michigan both have better defenses than either of these teams. Yeah,
and I mean, you can make the opposite point that they have better offense, but I think if Michigan stops with the getting too cute and stops the flea flickers and it doesn't work. Alex Orji, love you. Next year's your year. This year, root the team on from the bench. Okay, like just it
Right.
next week needs to be all JJ, and it needs to be
Yeah.
uh
We don't
your
need no crazy
Michigan's
stuff.
identity of run the
Yeah.
ball first, play action with JJ, play action of the tight ends, get Roman Wilson
I'll tell
involved,
you.
but don't
I'll
do
tell you where
anything
JJ
crazy.
shines, John. I'll tell you where JJ shines. On the play action rollout pass, that is where JJ shines the most. That is where he's the most accurate.
Yeah.
If Michigan can do that against whoever they're playing, I think we'll have a lot of good success in the championship game.
Absolutely. So we've got Nick coming up here. So any final thoughts for us?
No, I'm just excited, John. I had my neighbors knocking on the door because I was screaming so loud after we won. I almost lost my voice. No, I'm just so happy, John. I'm so happy for Michigan fans and everyone, and I'm just, man, I'm ecstatic. Go blue, and thanks for having me on.
Go Blue Moose. See you soon. And coming up next, friend of the program, Nick, is calling in.
What's up, my guy?
Go Blue, buddy.
Let's go, baby. Go blue. Go blue. Where's the real
What a huge
MVP?
win.
Where's he at? Where's the real MVP at?
Yeah.
I need to know.
Yeah. Because we're tough. You know, I want to know where the real MVP is right now. Yes. No, he did call in. He did call in. To his credit, he came in. He took his medicine.
He did.
He came in. He called in earlier.
Okay. Did he? What did he say about those? Well, I'll go back and watch earlier in the video.
Yeah, go back and listen.
Okay. Well. All right. So, man, what was the first? Man, there was a first point I was going to make. Anyway, one of the plays. Don't forget about this. This was earlier in the game. What was that play where JJ pitched it to Donovan and he threw it back to JJ and he caught it with one hand and launched it up to Roman Wilson?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a play, man. Also, so there's. Do you think JJ got banged up on that play? Because I think they still had. I think they still had a package for Alex Orji to come in, but they only ran JJ once in the second half, and I'm pretty sure that was on that final drive. I don't think he has a serious injury. I'm almost just kind of wondering if it's like they didn't run him more because he came up like looking like death after. I mean, he had turf all in his helmet and everything.
Yeah. He got definitely the wind knocked out of him a little bit there, and he had the grass and stuff all in his helmet. But he shook it off, and credit to him. And and what they did was they play called, and they did some runs until they had to pass. So they at least gave him a couple of plays to like recover a bit, and then JJ was able to get back to passing a little.
By the way, I know Michigan's defense at times in the second half was getting a run on, but I mean, that overall game plan by Jesse Minner, oh my gosh, Washington just caught the ball deep.
Yep.
Holy crap. I don't think Bama respected Michigan's defensive line coming into this game.
No.
I think that's why they got ate up. They didn't play like this coming out against Georgia. Their offensive line played phenomenal against Georgia, and I don't think that's because Georgia's terrible. I think Georgia has a good defensive line. They obviously don't have what they used to have, but like I don't think Bama was prepared for Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Straight up, those guys were destroying J.C. Latham, and it. Some people were saying like, oh well, the Alabama's center sucks. I don't think he sucks. I think he was overwhelmed at the point of attack. He was getting destroyed. All those low snaps.
I forgot to mention the Alabama center. Yeah, he did. That was rough.
It was rough, but he was dealing with monsters. He was dealing with two Godzillas in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, is it his fault that he was screwing it up in the first half? Didn't get it cleaned up in the second half. Actually, if you go back and look at that last play with Jalen Milroe, that was a terrible snap. That was a low snap. there's a chance that if that's a more accurate snap, he wiggles his way through and gets to the end zone. If you go watch that play closely. So he didn't get that cleaned up in the first half, second half, or overtime. So you can definitely fault him for that. But yeah, I think Alabama's offensive line, I'll say it, I think they totally underestimated Michigan.
Yeah,
And
in the first half, I agree with you. And then what I think they started to bust out their national championship playbook more. In the second half, they adjusted and they started making progress.
Have you ever seen Michigan do like bad Michigan things, but then also be the most clutch they've ever been in a game? Like Jake Thaw almost getting a safety after he muffed that punt. Samaj Morgan muffed another punt to him. The extra point, is that James Turner? He missed that extra point. And then what else was there? Wasn't there another turnover?
There was a lot of stuff. Obviously, the first play JJ did. Now it didn't get called because the guy was out of bounds.
Yeah.
But he threw a pick on the first play of the game.
I mean, just
that
total lack of focus on most of those things. There's things like Michigan used to do in big games, but then like you come down the stretch and they're down 20-13 with what, 4 minutes and something left. And then they call it's 4th and 2 and they go for it in their own territory. And they had 3 timeouts. Like, hey, I have an idea. We know what Ryan Day would have done in that scenario. He's punting that ball. He's punting that ball. That's not even a question. He's punting that ball because his beard dye is running down his neck because he's sweating so much. I'll tell you, that's exactly what he's doing. But that was a clutch way to. But I've never seen that dichotomy, right? Like Michigan doing Michigan type of things, but then still being MJ in the finals. I mean, yeah, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but you kind of get like the yin yang of it all was like really interesting to watch. But I'll also give Bama credit because, you know, Jalen Milroe and his center, if they weren't having those issues, Bama shot themselves in the foot a lot. Like Jalen Milroe had that fumble, so they only had that one turnover, but the amount of sacks and dropped snaps and stuff, I think eventually if you have enough of those, that equates to a turnover.
Yeah, five sacks in the first half was rough. They were not protecting Milroe well enough in the first half, and they adjusted in the second half and did a better job. McClellan, I will say, McClellan looked good. He was tough to stop. McClellan, the running back, he was getting yards and just making plays. But their receivers didn't really do a lot. Burton and Bond, who I'd been hearing so much about, Michigan's defense did a good job of preventing a lot of big plays, except for a few.
Yeah, Keon Sabb had a key play at the end of the game. Rod Moore had a really good play. Will Johnson was doing really well. There were no huge plays, and we saw Jalen Milroe be incredibly inconsistent with the intermediate throws. I think Jalen Milroe I have so much respect for him. Mm-hmm. I don't know why people are thinking like he can't be a quarterback in the pros. He reminds me so much of Vince Young, but he has a much better deep ball. And I think the intermediate throws, that's something that he can work on. I mean, if you have that accuracy downfield, I mean, he'll get the hang of it. It's really just timing with the intermediate throws. And Bama doesn't have that, you know, they don't have the Devontae Smiths. They don't have, I don't know, the Jamison Williams or anything like that. Like Burton's good.
Right.
Isaiah Bond is good. You know, their running backs are good, but they don't have those Derrick Henrys. They don't have those Mark Ingrams. And then on top of that, they make mistakes. So, and you got to admit it, like, I know Nick Saban mostly kept his cool on the sideline, but you could tell, like, he was pissed.
He doesn't like penalties. He doesn't. He likes to be a very a very disciplined team. He doesn't like false start penalties. He doesn't like illegal substitution penalties. So those were really getting to him. I could tell.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have so much respect for Nick Saban. Obviously,
Absolutely.
he's the GOAT in college and whatnot. But I mean, like, let's just call it what it is. I mean, I don't think Tommy Rees is a good OC.
No.
I mean, he's a first-year OC at Bama, but, like, I don't think he's that good. Even when Bama got going, most of their yardage that they got was they started bringing it. Again, I don't know too many formations and everything, but when they started in the second half, they brought those 2 running backs or 2 guys in the backfield with Jalen Milroe, just an extra guy back there.
Yep.
Then Jalen Milroe. You got to worry about Jalen Milroe, the 2 guys back there, and then he can still throw the deep ball. It just seemed like it gave the Michigan defense something more to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was crazy. I do want to ask you this, and then I won't keep you. How are you feeling? Because I was feeling terrible. How are you feeling? Michigan down 13-20 to Bama with under 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. How are you feeling at that moment? I want to know.
I was feeling mixed because
really?
I thought on the one hand, it felt like Bama was starting to pull away a little. But on the other hand, I just felt like JJ and Sharon Moore and the team had one more scoring drive in the tank. And as long as we didn't do anything to prevent that from happening and we were able to score and get to overtime, that we had a chance to win. So I wasn't super optimistic, but I also thought we still had a decent shot at that point.
Okay. And then lastly, I don't want to go into this too much, but I do think this is a discussion that needs to be had. Oh, by the way, first of all, Mark did pick Michigan to lose by double digits. He dropped his official prediction video late. Okay. So I don't know if you saw it. He picked Alabama to win 31, Michigan 20. That was his official prediction. Now, I will give him a little bit more credit because multiple times before that official prediction, he predicted like a 3-point loss. So yeah. I don't know what he looked at because his talking points were the same, but the score gap just got much bigger. So maybe that's something you could ask him. Like, what did he see to pick Michigan to lose by double digits? Because all of his talking points and reasons for the double-digit loss were the exact same before when he was talking about, picking Michigan to lose by 3 points.
Well, he was on earlier, and I think you should probably rewind and watch the part that Mark was on with me, and then also Deral, because I think they acknowledged that, the fact that Michigan has so many returning players, so many who came back through the One More Year fund.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm not calling Mark. No,
balanced it out.
Yeah, I'll go back and watch a video. I'm not calling Mark out. I'm just saying,
sure,
that he that point.
You're curious as to the criteria for the 10th, the final.
Yeah,
score
because he already brought up the returners. That's the thing. That was it. People already know that. You know what I mean? The real MVP already knew that. Mark already knew that. So it's I don't know if you can use that for, but anyway. But anyway, lastly, who do you got in this game? Texas, Washington, or are you not going to give a prediction on that?
So I think in our Voice of College Football picks, I might have picked Texas, but I could see Washington. To me, this is a real coin flip. I just think that Washington's offense is so dynamic, and Texas feels like they've been a very balanced team. But I feel like Washington could make a couple additional plays to win. So I'm not going to – I think it could honestly go either way. And it'll come down to – they're both going to score a lot of points. And it's going to come down to probably the last couple minutes.
I got Washington. I would rather play Texas because I don't trust Quinn Ewers at all. And Texas may, have the more talented team, but I think people are idiots to not fear Washington's passing game. So not saying anybody, is just whatever. But I got Washington. But I will say, with Michigan being able to deal with Marvin Harrison Jr. and their defensive schematics is similar. Their defense and their coverage and scheme is similar to 2021, which had C.J. Stroud, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. I do think Michigan's defense is built to deal with both of these teams. So I like Michigan in the championship game. So
Me too.
We'll see.
I think Michigan's gonna. I mean, anything can happen, but I think Michigan will probably be able to beat either of these teams after the performance we saw today. But they have to learn from the mistakes of this week. They have to not do do these trick plays and everything. Continually. Like the one was fine, but then when they kept doing stuff and they had Alex Orji in, it was just too cute. Like Blake Corum, run the ball.
Which one? When he was passing? Like looking to pass to Khalil Mullings, that was too cute?
I just didn't. For me, I just would rather JJ be in the whole game.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only caveat is I'll go back to I'm assuming they did that because JJ might have been banged up, but I don't know that for sure. Generally, I agree, but at the same time, you could also argue like we kind of know that like they have special packages for Alex Orji.
Yeah.
But like also though too, okay, so I know I was gonna let you go, but I have to get this out. So Samaj muffs the punt early in the game.
Yeah.
You show confidence with him by getting him the ball back on offense, but then you keep him in the game and he doesn't muff a punt. He caught like 3 or 4 straight punt, like the rest of the punts up until the final one, which is game on the line, and then you put Jake Thaw in. I know that Jake Thaw has been he's the safer guy, but that was the first time in the entire game that he's out there on the biggest stage.
Yeah.
That to me, that's like just don't do. I agree with the Alex Orji stuff, but even more so to make those kind of decisions. Because special teams got a D- tonight. I'm not going to give them an F because they didn't lose the game.
Right.
But when you look at a collection, that's the worst that I've seen Michigan special teams in a single game under Jim Harbaugh. So they'll have to get that cleaned up.
Absolutely.
But, all right, man. Thanks for taking my call. Go Blue, baby.
Go Blue. Thanks, Nick. Final score, Michigan 27, Alabama 20 in overtime. They said it couldn't be done. A lot of people out there said Alabama had this. But those who've been paying attention, those who've been watching Michigan Wolverines live know that we were cautiously optimistic. We predicted a Michigan victory. 3 points. They actually won by 7. But this was a huge win for the program, a program-defining win. And now there's one more game for the title. And I think, based on what I'm seeing here, both of these teams look beatable. Now, I think we've got to put our all into the national championship prep, and we've got to have really good stuff prepared. But I think both of these teams look like Michigan could take them. After what we just saw, after this performance against Alabama, yeah. Couple of reminders. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll have Michigan Wolverines live with myself and Tanner Wooten from Blue by 90. We also want to make sure that you like, subscribe, share with a friend. If you haven't hit the like button yet, it just takes 2 seconds, and it's just a show of appreciation for your comments, questions, for your for what you do, for what we do. Send a super chat. Make sure your comment or question is read on screen. So we did get quite a few super chats earlier. We really do appreciate the super chats. It really does mean a lot. Join our Patreon Discord, talk college football all the time, or become a YouTube member for only $2.99. We also do have the merch store. So we have new merch now at the Voice of College Football merch store, including Michigan merch. We have so many fantastic products for the entire family, friends, neighbors. Everything from shirts to flags to shoes to kids' t-shirts, sports bras, and so on. And of course, we also have in the Michigan section the 2024 Rose Bowl men's classic tee, $18.99. Get it today, and it'll ship around next week. Put the link right here for everybody to check it out. Gary says, I want Mark. So Mark was here earlier. He will also be in about 4 minutes doing a halftime show for Texas Washington. So I'm actually right now going to post the link, and everyone can start heading over to the Texas Washington halftime update. So if you want Mark, you're going to get Mark in a couple minutes. Well, call in then. I don't know if he'll do calls for the halftime show, but he'll definitely do calls after the game. Any final comments here before we wrap? Yes, we got the monkey off our back. We beat an SEC team in the playoff. Big game. Huge game. And Michigan was able to pull it off in overtime. Everybody's saying go blue. We appreciate that. And all right. And this is a point that I was thinking of, but I didn't say it out loud. Ryan says, glad Michigan got over the long break jitters and we can now play the regular 1 week break schedule. I think this is very much to Michigan's advantage that now they get to go back to like almost sort of a regular season schedule for this next week, right? That's what they're used to. Their thing was the long break, that they weren't sure how much time to spend on vacation versus how much time to spend in pads. Now they'll have, I think, a more systematic approach that they're used to for this next week. And by the way, both of these teams, like I said, I don't think Washington's going to score nearly as much against Michigan's defense as they are against Texas's defense. Because I'm starting to think Washington's probably going to beat Texas. But who knows? All right. With all that said, head on over to the halftime show, which will be starting in a couple of minutes on Voice of College Football. And I just want to thank everybody for hanging in with me this season. We'll do another post-game live next week after the national championship. We'll do the same thing. And we'll see who wins. I'll try to get a good guest to discuss everything with. maybe do a video. And one more for the prize. And so for everybody here at Voice of College Football and Michigan Football at the Voice of College Football, my name is John Diadamo, and we will see you real soon. Oh, and by the way, go blue.